Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have this first virtual art church in on the new moon this month of May, and we are coming to you from CoSM Chapel of Sacred Mirrors, where we celebrate art as a spiritual path. And this uh, uh, evening, we're going to start with Unifying Oz. Alex is going to lead us in our unifying vocalizations.
So we like to use the Tibetan mantra using the syllable ah, and ah means primordial perfection. That's the enlightened state, basically, that they believe that we're born with. So, and that we just experience obscurations to realizing our already enlightened state. So we say ah in order to affirm our already enlightened state on the level of body, mind, and spirit. So we do 3 ahs. You can join us if you want.
Thank you. Well, when we celebrate our church, we consider it a time to make art together. So I want to tell people who have not been to our church what to expect, and that this is what's going to go on. For the first hour, we're going to go into a kind of a meditation to music. It's going to start with Alex's spoken word poetry, and you can start drawing or conceiving of your drawing at any time. That means that this is, for us, this is lap art. You may be at a desk somewhere, lucky you, and have your art supplies nearby you like we do. You know, here they all are, our watercolor kit and our water and our brushes are all nearby, ready for us to just drop into without shuffling around or making a sound. We should just have all of our brushes out and our water ready. So if you're still getting ready, I'll just tell you a little bit more about what's going to happen. Here's a brush that I love. Have brushes that you love. Have materials that you love, and start an art church series. I recommend it. Mine is always on this kind of paper, and I get a special pad for art church. So it's possible to make it a special monthly celebration of your own creativity. You know, you don't have to, be a Picasso to be able to, enjoy art church. So we will start with Alex's spoken word poetry. It'll go right into the music. And then we have about a half an hour of silence. We recommend silence. You're there in your home, you can do whatever you like, but silence allows you to drop right into the drawing without distraction. What you want is to channel the divine through your, configurations. You see an image, but then you have to translate it into brush strokes and colors, and how do you, what kind of, how thick and how thin. So anyway, so you do that in your mind without distraction, and then in about less than 30 minutes, I will come in with my spoken word poetry, and you'll know that it is coming to an end. And when it comes to an end, we'll have a little discussion with some of our friends in the room. So, but we welcome you to send comments, and then we take a 10-minute break, and we'll be back after that for the discussion of the sacred masculine and divine feminine. That'll happen in the second hour. So thank you again for coming, and I'm ready anytime. Did I forget anything?
No, thank you. That's so good, Allison. And thank you all for joining us tonight for Art Church. Uh, of course, we want to say a special thank you to all the healthcare workers and all the people who are keeping our society functional at this critical time when many of us are sequestered. And in this state, perhaps we've come face to face with our creative spirit. I hope so, because becoming creative is something that will help us to imagine a new world together. And so that's why I always love to make art with our friends here at Art Church. So the subject this time on the new moon. New moon is just the optimal time to do this because that means that there's no moon basically in the sky. That the sky is blank. Usually we celebrate on the full moon, and so on the new moon, it just means that you got a blank canvas, and this is the perfect kind of place to put a new intention and to make art about something that you want to work on and stuff. So this Art Church, we have the sacred masculine and divine feminine as a subject. Now, I I think that this is one of the ways that we can look at the world's sacred art and see recurring archetypes that are very basic, very primary, very primal. Of course, we wouldn't be here were it not for the love of our mother and father. And so the combination of polarities is what brought us all into existence and can be seen in a Taoist kind of way up and down the great chain of being from the beginning of the cosmos. And so, this kind of love affair of light and matter with spirit is something that you can abstract the forces of uh, divine feminine and sacred masculine into cosmic forces. So, there are many ways to conceive of the polarities, including a state beyond polarities or a new combination of elements. We might see genders and things as a sliding scale. There's so many new ways of imagining these kinds of uh, historic dyads, and especially at this time when we're reimagining our collective future and really, who are we? So I truly believe that our true identity lies beyond gender, and that is a timeless kind of thing that is spirit and light and love. And that has no race, it has no gender. It's simply the creative spirit that's alive in each one of us. So to find some balance of these polarities inside of ourselves, I think is critical in order for us to find love in the outside world. Our first love comes as finding a sense of balance and peace within and discovering who oneself is. And so the great who am I and who I am, you come in close to this subject of the genders and the self and who are we. So, in that kind of cloud of a subject of the polarities of male and female and any of the stations between, uh, allow that to perhaps simmer as a subject while we meditate with some music, and I say a few more words. The perennial philosophy in 7 steps. Number 1, spirit exists. Number 2, spirit is found within. Number 3, most of us don't realize this spirit within, however, because we live in a fallen world, a world of separation and duality. We're living in an illusion. Number 4, there's a way out of this fallen state of illusion. There's a path to our liberation. Number 5, if we follow this path to its conclusion, the result is a rebirth or enlightenment, a direct experience of spirit within, a supreme liberation, which number 6 marks the end of suffering, and number 7 issues in social actions of mercy and compassion on behalf of all sentient beings. Artist's Prayer. Creator of the universe, how infinite and astonishing are your worlds. Thank you for your sacred art and sustaining presence. Divine imagination, forgive my blindness. Open all my eyes. Reveal the light of truth. Let original beauty guide my every stroke. Universal creativity, flow through me, from my heart, through my mind, to my hand. Infuse my work with spirit to feed hungry souls. The witness. I have a body, but I am not my body. I can see and feel my body, and what can be seen and felt is not the true seer. My body may be tired or excited, sick or healthy, heavy or light, but that has nothing to do with my inward I. I have a body, but I am not my body. I have desires, but I am not my desires. I can know my desires, and what can be known is not the true knower. Desires come and go, floating through my awareness. They do not affect my inward I. I have desires, but I am not desires. I have emotions, but I am not my emotions. I can feel and sense my emotions, and what can be felt and sensed is not the true feeler. Emotions pass through me, but they do not affect my inward I. I have emotions, but I am not emotions. I have thoughts, but I am not my thoughts. I can know and intuit my thoughts, and what can be known is not the true knower. Thoughts come to me and thoughts leave me, but they do not affect my inward eye. I have thoughts, but I am not my thoughts. I am what remains, a pure center of awareness, an unmoved witness of all these thoughts, emotions, feelings, and desires.
serves at my side, and of all who assembled within those walls, that I was the hope and the pride. I had riches all too great to count, and a high ancestral name, but I also dreamt, which pleased me most, that you loved me still the same, that you loved me still the same, that you loved me still.
As we're not even really be able to hug people right now during the times.
I dreamt that suitor sought my hand, that nights upon bended knee, and with vows no maiden's heart could withstand, they pledged their fate to me. And I dreamt that one of that noble host came forth my hand to claim, but I also dreamt, which charmed me most, that you loved me still the same, that you loved me still the same, that you loved me still the
longing truth and soul, longing for another wind. Lurching to the fray, weapon out and belly in.
New moon, strengthening our souls in world service. Group fusion. Here today, we share one consciousness as sisters and brothers. May the love in our souls pour forth to one another. May the strength in our souls uplift one another. May the expressions of our souls reach out and encourage one another. Alignment. We recognize that as individuals and as a group, we are capable of transforming ourselves and our world. Now, mentally extend a light line of lighted energy from your own heart toward a vast assembly of all the enlightened beings who serve life and the awakening presence at every level, the wisdom masters of all traditions, the creative geniuses that serve the world, the visionaries that make a difference, helping humanity and the web of nature, the archetypal forces of the Great Mother, Christ, Buddha, Sophia, the hearts of love where the will of God is known. Intention. Now, for a few moments, hold the mind focused on the planetary role people can play in serving and uplifting the world, responding to divine guidance, and meditating a great plan into existence in alignment with the highest personal and communal good. Reflection. Shifting from a materialistic, dualistic view that people and the environment are separate, we move toward a new consciousness of all-encompassing reality in which people feel their oneness with each other and all of creation, and bring forth visions and actions that will sustain civilization and the web of life. Transmission. And now from the hearts of each of the vast assembly of all the enlightened beings, visualize the highest good, generating the most powerful compassion, wisdom, and healing forces being transmitted through rays of light into each of our hearts and extending into all people everywhere in the world through the hearts and minds of the whole human family. Connection. See the creative thought forms of solutions to world problems arising now in the hearts and minds of all who can help. Great invocation. As the great invocation is sounded, Visualize human consciousness permeated with light and love and power. From the point of love, within the heart of God, let light stream forth into the minds of all people. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love, within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of all people. Let spirit awaken across the earth. And from the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the will of all people, the purpose which wisdom knows and serves. From the connection of all humanity, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. May the power of light, love, and wisdom manifest Spirit's plan on earth. Amen. Yashikoa. Aho. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you've been having a wonderful journey. We have. And I appreciated the music that featured the sacred masculine, the warrior, and the divine feminine, dreaming and that you dwelt in marble halls and things like that. The archetypes of the divine feminine and the sacred masculine were throughout. So what happened for you, Alex? Did you have an interesting, oh, there goes my drawing. Uh-oh. What happened? Tell me.
Well, practically as soon as I went into my little meditative space of the new moon, I saw this image of that you probably won't be able to see very well at all.
Oh, yes,
But
it will.
it's an image of the kind of night sky mother, and she was having a little affair with the Earth Father. See.
Ah, I see. Yes,
And
look at that.
there was some ocean coming in on his shores, and she was up above.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a kind of a uniting of those sacred forces.
Well, you know, the Egyptians had the night sky and the Earth Father, Geb the father, and Nuit the mother of all the Neteru. All the Egyptian Neteru came tumbling out of Nuit, and anyway, well, and that's interesting. Well, I just started a new piece. I thought, why not start a new piece? Let's see, is it dry? It's dry enough. And you know, so it isn't far enough along. But you see, when I celebrate our church, and I do celebrate, I do something different than I do at any other time, really, and that is to allow myself complete spontaneity and an interior listening. I practice a meditation of art and listening. So I just kind of like let my hand do what it wants to do, let my colors be chosen by an internal force that, just guides me, and I let myself do whatever I feel. So this could become a much more densely packed, labor intensive piece. Sometimes I'll bring a piece back to art church over and over again, but I work on these sort of roads where, kind of inexplicable writing is just kind of like flying across the road, and they get very dense with detail. So I have fun, and I just allow myself complete pleasure and sinking into the music and just enjoying the strokes and the colors and letting myself do whatever I want, which is different than my other work, which you probably, some of you have seen. And you can see more of my Art Church series at AllisonGray.com, where I have a little section in my website of just the Art Church stuff.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Now,
how'd it turn
I
out?
hope that some people out there were making some art.
Yeah. Who do we
And-
have? Who would like to say something about what happened to them in the session? We have some guests. Stars. Yeah. Let's start with Mike and Rosie. Mike and Rosie are with us, everyone.
Hey,
Hi. First of all, as soon as the music started, God, I got almost choked up because Art Church is one of my favorite things of the month. And I've missed you guys so much, but when the music started, then I realized that, oh my God, I missed that whole community.
it brought us right back.
Yeah, it's just, thank you so much for doing this virtually, because it's like something that we look forward to every month after the full moon. And, I always say love and nature is my religion, and art is my, the sacred act, how I do it. And at CoSM, we get all three, right? We got love, we have community, we get nature, and then we have art as a spiritual practice all in one. So thanks for that. I always work on the black paper. I did this one at the last Art Church. I finished it up on the Peace Train, but I think it might have been Sacred Relationships, but I switched over to neutral paper today. Well, and I originally was going to do a woman just, holding her heart. And then I realized, after being in quarantine with my beloved, how, that sacred relationship that was so, I was going through a rough time. I was healing physically, and then mentally I was going through a struggle about the world. And I just want to say, I felt, thank you for, for me having my sacred mirror, masculine, feminine. We both, I'm a little masculine, feminine. He's a little feminine, masculine. It was just, so I switched it to a man and a woman. And holding each other's heart instead of her holding her heart. So yeah, thanks. I'm going to definitely work and make this into a painting. Thank you.
I love that composition. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Hey.
This would have been the weekend of the mandala class. So
Rosie has the most wonderful mandala class. Everybody out there, you're going to love Rosie's mandala class when it comes back.
But I'm glad that I'm with this community.
Yes,
And
look
hi
back.
to the Peace Train. I know they're watching us now, all my buddies.
That's
Oh.
right. You can teach the mandala on the vision train if you haven't already, I would imagine.
Mike, did you have something you wanted to share with us? Oh,
Oh, Mike?
We can't hear you.
something happened to your sound. Did you mute your sound?
I muted it. Sorry.
She muted. That's okay. It's still really wonderful to be with my
I'll hold it
beloved.
up.
So I was working on this at Art Church several months ago. So I thought I'd pick it back up again. The mandala has an intention that is for me to gain insight and understanding into the workings of the human being and nature and the interrelationship between that. These little objects or discs, they're like cellular material. It just blows me away, the miracle of this life, the sacredness of this life. We are composed of 50 trillion cells with maybe double that amount of microorganisms that live within and on our bodies. We have countless chemical reactions happening every millisecond. So, in that way, when I look at it, it's like this miracle of that plus the mind and then the emotions that also interplay into the body, how it, creates this amazing human that we are. So, within this is a mind-boggling complexity coexisting with a profound simplicity, which has really been coming to me a lot lately, that fact of ourselves. So, the sacredness is characterized by that we're not random. Nothing happens in a random way. We're completely orderly and predictable. And our bodies and our minds are amazing self-regulating machines. They are adaptable and healing machines. So we are basically, I believe, fields of perfection within a field of perfection. So my affirmation is that we continue to honor our spirit by caring for and respecting this miracle that we've been granted in this life. So that's what I say.
Wow.
Dr. Mike, thank you so much.
Thank you. Brilliant affirmation. Thank you, Mike.
My pleasure.
We love you guys.
Well, who else in our studio audience here is going to share what happened during our church? Is someone volunteering, John?
Amanda?
Let's call in somebody. Amanda's good. Let's do Amanda. Is she there? There she is.
I'm here. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi. That was so nice. It was so lovely. I dropped right back into feeling like I was there in the room with you. And in the gray house at CoSM and all of you that are here. So good to get together and create together. It's just so much more. I feel like so much more energy flows through me. Like I have so much more support, even if we're not in the same room. And that was really I was able to drop in so quickly, and the prayers that both of you spoke out, just resonated so strongly too through me. And I'm working on a piece here that I started actually a couple weeks ago at a Burning Man event online from a camp that I know, a fundraiser helping, raise money for COVID relief support. And this painting, I really didn't know what was going to happen with it or how it was going to, what it was going to be. And I was in a really kind of anxious mood before. And so I just went in with total open heart, like, please just show me what wants to come through. And in a matter of very quick amount of time, turning it around, these sprouts came up and they turned into mostly women, but there is a man here too. And I thought this would be a perfect one, perfect piece with this sacred masculine and divine feminine, this theme to work on here, and it's feeling like this in the part of the world I'm in, there's the spring, the trees are blooming, and it feels like this renaissance of blooming of a new era of humanity, wow. So it's cool to be here. It's very much, it's always wonderful to gather with you guys and family and make art. I mean, it's the best thing ever.
Think that we'd be doing this. This is so extraordinary. Thank you so much.
I love seeing that, Amanda. I think Caitlin talks about the different trees have different sexes as well. That there's female and male trees. And so literally, although they may not look this beautiful, so great. Wow.
Wow.
The divine feminine is all over that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Can we drop in on Caren? Where's Caren?
Hey.
Caren and
Love you,
Smiley, how
Amanda.
you doing?
Hey.
There you guys. What
Yeah.
happened? Did you have a meditation?
Yeah, it was so nice to do this first virtual art church and have Smiley here and us do it together. So, good topic. Jump up. I went in first with a sketch, and what came up for me was kind of this a diagram almost, the love battery. And it's kind of like this infinity, like two hearts. Like if we were to think of each one representing a person, each circle would be like the feminine and the masculine energy within each heart. And it's kind of like when you think about us humans as these electromagnetic batteries that kind of roam the earth and get attracted to, all the things that we attract. It's like a perfect union of both energies merging, and kind of what the importance of finding the balance of those energies within oneself. In addition to the person that we're relating to. So.
Brilliant.
It so goes along with the balance piece that you were working on with Smiley too. It was amazing.
It's been a huge theme as of late, especially, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, no, just mirror what Caren was saying. Just, finding the balance within your own self and the balance between masculine and feminine, and then the balance with your partner and how you can feed off of each other and your battery becomes stronger with two people that are in tune, or 100 people like we saw on the vision train earlier, and however many people are tuning in now, for all of us to be charging internally and charging with each other, and taking the best parts of each side of it. And the yin and yang, it's a beautiful collaboration. And music and art is another theme that me and Caren experience a lot, with just charging each other and working together, and just like masculine and feminine work together.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is like the starting.
Nice, Smiley.
So
I'm not a visual artist.
you did great drawing, Smiley. That was really great. Thank you.
Deep symbol.
Yeah, I don't want to miss out on seeing what Louie's up to. Louie.
Hey, you guys. Good to be back with you all.
Oh,
there he is.
I was working on this painting, and at first I didn't really think it had any obvious relationship to masculine, feminine. It was just kind of the piece that I'm working on at the moment. And then as we meditated and painted, I realized we have this obvious phallic symbol of the mountain pointing upwards towards this portal, and then the similarity with the yin yang symbol, except the one dot being the kind of unification of the two, and Father Sky and Mother Earth coming together, and these mountains. When I kind of softened my gaze, I imagined like a river flowing between two legs, and it all just kind of took on a new life here during our little time. That was unexpected to me. So
it's practically pornographic, Louie. Be ashamed of yourself. No, I'm just totally
all
joking.
the time I spent with Alex.
No, but it does
you,
look like an egg instead of like a sun. Is usually associated with the male, but then it looks kind of egg-like with this thing pointing up into. I think you're really right, and the river flowing right to it.
Beautiful.
Thanks so much.
It's winning, you know what I mean? When things look sexual but it's subliminal, I think it's very winning.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I think you can observe so many processes in nature, and if you tweak your perception a little bit, it can go in that direction.
Does, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So beautiful, Louie. So
even the
great
pine
to see
trees.
you.
Yeah. It's
Thank
great
you.
to see. Now, we can't forget to check into Cat's Cove.
Woo!
Cat, hear those cats.
Cool. So, hey guys, can you hear me?
Oh my God.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
You go first.
What's up, guys? So I was working on a painting that I brought to Art Church tonight. Ever since I've been starting painting, I've been using a similar subject, which is bubble universes. This is based on a vision I had like in 2013, where I left my body and zoomed out of my house, out of the earth, out of the solar system and eventually like out of the universe. And I saw the universe in front of me like a little bubble. And there was a vista of an infinite amount of little bubble verses. And each bubble verse had like a positive or negative charge. And I represent this generally by painting them with a reddish hue or a bluish hue. And what I came with today was using purple more often because I kind of looked at the positive and negative charge of all these universes as the same kind of fractal dichotomy that is expressed in the masculine and feminine, this kind of yin-yang dynamic that permeates everything in the cosmos. But kind of like similar to what Caren was saying, we are all both, you know, no one is just yin or just yang. It's always an interplay between yin and yang. And that's what I'm representing more and more by integrating purple, because purple, of course, is what you get when you mix red and blue, when you mix the hot and cold, when you mix the polarities. So I'm bringing that kind of element into my bubble verse paintings more.
Wow.
So yeah.
Beautiful, Tyler.
That's so articulate.
He is the podcast host. He's good at that articulation.
What did you gals do? What happened with
Well, you go. Here, I'll move the camera a bit.
So I've just been working on this painting for like a year now, and it's getting close to being done, but I thought that it was appropriate for tonight because it has so much like flow and just kind of like the surrender and the feminine, but also all of these, it's based on one of the rose windows in Notre Dame. So it has so many points of this mandala that are really angular and very masculine in a way that are creating the structure and the order within the painting for the flow to exist. So it, you know, I never really thought about it that way until today, but I think that's really what's going on here. So that's me.
It's gotten so complex.
Yeah,
truly, you know,
so beautiful, and it explodes with the spectrum in a really new way in your work with those the sharp lines there.
The layering, you know, gives it depth. And Alexa, you were working there.
I'm a digital girl tonight. Hi, everybody watching. I'll keep it short and sweet, but you know, I'm making a piece for my parents who are divine masculine and feminine archetypes in my life. And they asked me to do a piece for them. And so I've been working, let's see, you can see it a bit. It's just you know, flowers. Who doesn't love flowers? They're erect, they're strong. I got some sacred geometry in there, kind of like what Hilary was talking about, creating order, and then the natural leaves and colors of soft colors of, you know, light blues and pinks, kind of mixing that together. So this is really for my parents, who I love so much and who represent such strength and gentleness. So yeah, we're having fun. We miss you all so much. And we look forward to hearing your talk on the divine feminine and sacred masculine. I think that's up next. Yeah.
We're going to do that. We are going to do that. Unless there's anybody out there that hasn't spoken that would like to, we'll move on.
I think that was it. Yeah.
That was it.
I just want to say I miss that CoSM crew. I'm hugging you in my mind.
We miss you, Rosie.
All together. And
Miss you too, Rosie.
out there too. We're so delighted that you're with us. We're going to take a 10-minute break and we're going to come back. So do join us, but bring your art supplies with you or keep them where you are. Keep working and tune in and we'll talk and you'll draw and paint and then you'll, you know, ask questions or tag in or give us your impressions. So if you, Alexa, is there a way that they can make comments and things like that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So if you are watching on Twitch, on YouTube or Facebook, definitely comment. If you have any questions throughout the lecture that they're going to give in 10 minutes or so, please type them. We want to do a little Q&A at the end. And be sure to tag at Chapel of Sacred Mirrors, at Alex Gray CoSM, at Allyson Gray CoSM on Instagram and Facebook. And we'd love to see what you're working on. We'll be sure to pop it in our story and be together tonight through the World Wide Web.
To have you folks that are next door, that are on Long Island, that are in LA, that are in Colorado, that are in everywhere. We have people all over and in the room too, don't we? Did you guys do anything, Silas? Okay, well, we have some folks here that are going with us. It's okay. It's okay. We are so delighted to have you and so glad. And we'll see you again in 10. Is there a certain time, John? 10 minutes. We'll see you in 10. Mwah! I love you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Activate.
Guys, a minute.
That was smooth.
Right on.
We're not live right now. Right?
Hey guys, you're not muted, just to let you know.
Oh, I thought they were. Okay.
You can write a message to each other in chat if you prefer.
going to say what this slide represents. I say what this slide represents. How do I say what this slide represents?
All right. There are people.
We're back.
You're back. You're good.
We're back. Welcome back. We're about to begin the discussion of the sacred masculine and divine feminine theme. And here we have on your screen is the doors. They are 4 by 8 foot doors, 2 of them together there, the masculine and the feminine, and they are carved on both sides. And some of you may have seen the other side, which has creating a better world with all the beautiful tree, and it's the door to Entheon. Well, this is the other side that was carved, and it'll be on view inside of Entheon, and it has the ideal proportions overlaid onto the figure, the Father Desiderius ideal proportions. So that is, what century is that, Alex? Father Desiderius.
Well, he was in the 19th and 20th century, and so just recently he formed the Boiron School, which was there, I believe, in France, and still there's some architecture and paintings and murals and things represented by that school. He measured the Egyptian and Greek statuary and things and came up with this proportion.
Fantastic. Well, let's see now. I think I have the clicker here. Let's go forward. Does this work? I'm not going the wrong way. Let's see.
Well, I
think you're gonna have to do it by hand. Does it work?
Does work.
Make sure I'm clicking.
Okay.
Should be working.
Okay.
Maybe
Great.
this will work, Joe.
So, well, I wanted to start a discussion about the sacred masculine and divine feminine with a icon that is really beyond gender. And this is my kind of Vajra inspired image of the Buddha embryo. The Buddha embryo is an incarnating essence that goes through the lifetimes and is the essentialized identity. And so this is something beyond gender. And in that way, it's kind of an interesting thing just to simply posit a spirit that lies beyond gender as an identity. And so with that, then we come into the world. And now we have the primal scene with mom and dad, and you've got the idea of the first pilgrimage, and this pilgrimage of the divine masculine toward the divine feminine is kind of what's going on here. And so this incarnation happens with this sacred pilgrimage. And it occurred to me that we begin our physical existence as separate sex cells. So each one of them have 23 chromosomes. And if they don't get together, then we're not going to exist. And so the kind of primal urgency, if not panic, to get to the well, now you have to imagine all the mythic archetypes of the male. So there's the soldiers, the warriors that are taking the hill, you know, or there's the football heroes, you know, making a touchdown and things like this. So this kind of race toward the divine feminine is on. Now, when they get to the fallopian tube to find the princess, I asked an embryologist, a friend of ours, how do those intelligent sperm know which tube to go down? Because there's 2 fallopian tubes. And she said, oh, they don't. So half of them goes down a dead end fallopian, and then the half of them that's still left come toward the divine feminine. So there at that primal scene, evidently, the brothers have to maintain a consistent drumming on the exterior of the ovum, or else she's not going to think this is serious. And so uh, who knows who chooses or how the choice is made? Some would say that there's a third force, a soul principle that's watching over the whole thing, like the Buddha embryo, choosing in some way.
Some would say she lets him in.
That's right.
Some would say that she is looking for the most suitable suitor, and the rest, and to come and have love's first kiss. But of course, then there's the story of Sleeping Beauty, where she really is just waiting there, sort of dead. But then there's the one where she gets, to choose the most suitable suitor too. They come in and it's all those metaphors and
It's
archetypes,
all
right?
wrapped up in that primal scene and in a kind of cellular memory that I think is deep in our unconscious and somehow is represented as our friends started looking at their art again, starting to see little unconscious innuendos that are part of our symbolism. So the zygote is the newly formed self, and the Buddha embryo is kind of identified now with a particular sex. And so that goes all the way to term, and we're on the adventure of life. We come into it as a unity of divine feminine and sacred masculine. And so this idea is reproduced in the world's sacred traditions and is recounted certainly in the Holy Family archetype. This is something that I revisioned here, but it shows the child that is alive today to the unity of and oneness of the world tribe of humanity. And that's why I try to show folks without their skin to take it beyond race.
But it is the world family of the rainbow family, because the rainbow family embraces all the traditions as one tradition, and it's basically showing, that we want this for our children. We want a better world. We want a unified world where we are accepting and tolerant and really, really loving toward other traditions.
Exactly. And so the oldest living sacred tradition on earth really is Hinduism. And from 6,000 years old, we have the oldest teachings in the Rig Veda. And so we have a number of sacred dyads, the Shiva and Shakti here. The Shiva is identified with the mountain, and the energies or polarities of male and female are symbolized in many ways.
Well, the Shiva has a trine, and the trine is it's a weapon, and it takes down. It's basically Shiva is the destroyer. So it's the taker down, but it's also so many things.
Well, there is a dance of Shiva, and you could say, along with a number of scientists, that the material world is the dance of entropy. And so this is, I think they found these primordial forces of the creator, the maintainer, and the destroyer, and the Trimurti there, that symbolizes so much about the material world and the creative forces. And they place these kind of forces of the gods and goddesses at the foundation of creation. And so in that way, we have a cosmic body, and a body that goes beyond the normal kind of limits of form and can take on a transform. They can become a transfigured entity and include facets of both male and
The
female.
blending of both beings and really gender free. I mean, it's supposed to represent Krishna in two forms, I suppose, or Krishna and
It's Shiva
Shiva and Shakti
in that form where they become one.
I see.
And so that is the embrace of the divine polarities. And this is one of the archetypal forms that we see in the visionary religion of Hinduism and these amazing archetypes.
Well, there you have Osiris and Isis. These are, the famous couple. It's the Egyptian, the head of the Egyptian Neteru, the sacred couple. Beautiful sculpture. Probably, I would think, 4,000 to 6,000 years old.
Oh yes, I would imagine, and granite. So those sculptors were amazing.
Albrecht Dürer's version of Adam and Eve. Very beautiful. Demure. Albrecht Dürer is the Renaissance. We're talking about 1500, and Christianity was the Renaissance. So it was before the Enlightenment, but it was very I don't know. People were rediscovering the religion.
Yes, and this is pointing to a phase of history where pictorial realism was becoming very strong, and Dürer was one of the great masters there. But he was integrating the Abrahamic traditions. He was, of course, a Catholic, and here he's pointing back to the this original Adam and Eve, who are the primal archetypes of male and female for the Western tradition.
The first male and female. And there's Michelangelo's version of they were being expelled from the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, first they had to eat that magic fruit. I wonder what was in that fruit.
Right. And the serpent came and inspired them to gain knowledge, be like God.
A true extraordinary fresco by the Italian master.
Here's an alchemical etching. The sun needs the moon as the cock needs the hen. I don't know about that, but that's what they thought.
Well, that's making the universe into a love affair, you see. And sun and moon, isn't it a miracle that on the Earth's view that they have exactly the same diameter? Apparently they're completely not relational as far as their actual mass. But when you look at them together and you have an eclipse, then it's quite an amazing sight. And of course, we have the night and we have the moon, and that is kind of like the orb of the night, and then the sun. The sun never changes. It's always bright, but the moon goes through all these phases. So it has all of these associations and alchemical associations as well.
But as a lesson of art, can I just mention how beautiful a drawing this is, and that it has the foreground, the middle distance, the background, all and all the lines that they use, that they decide to make horizontal, just nice straight horizontal lines. And then there's lines that are not horizontal. There's the cock and the flowers. Doesn't it? It just makes those things stand out so much more, to put those floral elements over those striated lines. It's a beautiful plan, the radiant halos around them, the way that the musculature is portrayed in these little tiny little drawings. People out there that are becoming artists, it's a wonderful piece to study.
It's full of a lot of paradoxes and polarities, and the one of the things that I love about it is how the things that, like the sun and the moon itself, would be the farthest in the background, but they're
It's true.
really, but
Yeah,
here they
right.
are
They're the
in
foreground.
the foreground.
Absolutely. It's so true. Yes.
So it kind of
You're
plays with
brilliant.
that
It does, yes.
thing in the sky.
So true.
And yeah,
Brilliant.
beautiful.
And there's another melding of the masculine and feminine. Anima and animus. Carl Jung brought it back into ancient Latin terms. That Carl Jung identified the animus as the unconscious masculine side of a woman, and the anima as the unconscious feminine side of a man, each transcending the personal psyche. So they are associated creative ability. The anima and the animus influence personal sensitivity, repression, attitudes toward the opposite sex, and all significant human interactions. That means that if you're a woman, your masculine side, is influenced or influences your personal sensitivity and all significant human interactions. We know that,
It's something you feel, I think.
Yeah. Now, this is another thing that the anima was originally associated with concepts of breath, soul, spirit, and vital force. So you're talking about, ephemeral, whereas
Animation.
Well, Jung began using the term to describe the inner feminine side of men. Now, this was Jung in the 20s, took anima from the Latin, and he started using it to describe the inner feminine side of men, whereas animus from the Latin describes the concept of the rational soul, mental powers. This is rational, courage and desire, but it became associated with temper, like animus, like animosity. It became associated in the 1800s with temper and hostility. And so Jung took it in the 20s and defined the term to mean the masculine side of women. That was the animus. I think that's a little pejorative, but against women, but hey. Jung's archetypes, the self, the ego, the persona, the outer world, and the anima and the animus, the shadow. They live in the shadow.
Well, I think that Jung's model is really so important because it acknowledges the shadow, and it's one of the problems. People like to pretend there aren't problems and things like that, and so and especially it's been a problem in world religions and things that they haven't found a way to deal with their shadow and things. So this is one of the things that that's why it's good to talk about and good to look at a full and holistic model of all of us.
Oh, this is a beautiful airbrush painting by the great airbrush artist Andrew Gonzalez, and what we're describing here, as my screen is a little bit covered, but anyway, how do I get rid of that? Okay, there we go. In Gnostic magic, the Anoia is the feminine counterpart of spiritual, or the spiritual consort of God. She is the womb of all manifestation, like the Egyptian god Nuit. To Jung, the archetype of the feminine principle. So the Gnostic magic. You were telling me about Gnostic magic. It's like the knowing, the magic of knowing.
Right. Gnosis. Gnosis
yeah.
is the, it's like the enlightened enlightenment in that system.
Right. Okay. Up. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, doggone it. John, we got. Okay.
Okay. Well, as we were talking about this kind of gender fluidity, that we have the polarities, but we have the various stations and on those polarities. And I really loved the beautiful idea that the Native American people had and was discovered and vilified, unfortunately, by the sort of priests and things like that came and found. But the Native people were living in an enlightened way and acknowledging that sometimes people are born with two spirits, And they saw that as a really incredible gift, that this created a kind of a third possibility where you combine these gifts of both genders in the two spirits.
Yes, so we have a same-sex couple of males and a females in the Navajo Dene people. So the two-spirit is a contemporary pan Native American umbrella term used by some indigenous North Americans to describe Native people in their communities who fulfill a traditional third gender or other gender variant, the ceremonial role in their cultures. And they have a special place in the Pride Day in all places, but in the Bay Area, particularly since there's a lot of Native people in California. Now, this is a very good friend of ours that, was on the cover of New York Magazine, Martine Rothblatt. Would you like to? I mean, I'd love to talk about Martine. She's the highest paid female CAO in America, used to be a man. Martine was Martin Rothblatt, and she was married to Bina Rothblatt, and they had 4 children. And then Martine had a transgender operation and went through all that. And there's their oldest daughter, Genesis, and Martine invented Sirius Satellite Network and started a pharmaceutical company actually to save his daughter, Genesis, from a disease that there was no one would make the drug that she to cure what she had. And so she created the United Therapeutics to do that. And we love these people. These are brilliant people who have supported Obama and been
genius. Absolutely.
Brilliant minds. Laverne Cox became the first openly transgender person to be nominated for an Emmy Award for her role as Sophia Bursett in Orange is the New Black. The sacred feminine, the divine masculine. I think she's both. These are some of the wonderful creative people that love each other and have same-sex relationships. We know them. We love them. We love these people. They have a wonderful family. Look at them. I don't know how many of you love Neil Patrick Harris like many of us do, but he's, Doogie Howser. And then, he did, The Angry Inch. This guy was started on Broadway with The Angry Inch and the Hedwig, and he's a genius. He did Cabaret. They're brilliant people. Anyway, I love them. And this, of course, is a favorite to so many. RuPaul, Andre Charles, is an American drag queen, actor, model, singer, songwriter, and television personality. Since 2009, he has received 6 Primetime Emmy Awards for his reality competition series, RuPaul Drag Race. Considered the most commercially successful drag queen, RuPaul was included on the annual Time Magazine 100 list of the most influential people in the world. RuPaul has a wonderful podcast and it's just a wonderful human being and really a great role model. I don't know. Enjoy him. Stephen Arnold is a great artist that is no longer with us, but an American multidisciplinary artist and protege of Salvador Dali. A filmmaker, photographer, painter, illustrator, set costume designer. People say that Stephen Arnold changed the way people dressed in the Bay Area in the hippie times. That he basically, his art and the way he did these sets and set designs and things like that. I mean, this was called Dressed for Dali, a tableau vivant by Stephen Arnold. He would do these tableaus and he would dress up. And this is Arnold called inspiration from dreams, world religions, sexuality, fine art, masterpieces, Jungian archetypes, social attitudes, excess, and artifice. And Dali called Stephen Arnold the prince of his court of miracles, which included countercultural icons, Ultraviolet, Marianne Faithfull, David Bowie, and Mick Jagger. And he was one of those. He's just gorgeous and he's so beautiful. You got to check out Stephen Arnold. He's a beautiful artist. We know that John and Yoko, incredibly creative people, brilliant people that were in love. A few heteros in here. We love them. We know them. Divine feminine. This is the multi-armed goddess.
Kali.
Kali, right. Mother of time. Well, we've seen the Venus of Willendorf. These were like talismans that people carved in cave person days. We're talking about 24,000 years old and 36,000 years old, mammoth ivory. And we always ask, do you think that a woman carved this or a man? And I think it was a man. I do think it was a man. I think women made pottery, but because they needed it, you know what I mean? They were so practical, they probably did, but men made these because they needed it. They needed this. They had to have it. B, goddess of roads, 700 BCE. We know about that.
Well, she exhibits this hybrid of the kind of animal or insect and the human. And so this is a favorite kind of visionary imagination thing, you know, combining the power of one species with another.
Also the style. I mean, doesn't it look like the pharaoh's crown a little bit there on going on both sides?
It does.
There's a power there. The queen bee. Sekhmet, the Egyptian lion goddess.
Very powerful.
Beautiful Sekhmets at the Met. I can't wait to get back to the Met and see the whole line of Sekhmets. You should go see the Temple of Dender.
Simamuka was a lion-headed goddess that was a Dakini, that was a manifestation of the Vajraguru Padmasambhava. So it's just interesting that the lion-headed goddess makes her appearance through many different world religions.
The Greek goddess Athena, goddess of wisdom and military victory, protector of Athens, goddess of war and practical reason, born fully formed from the forehead of Zeus. Athena was the apple of his third eye. That was Alex's. Often portrayed wearing a helmet, was said to have neither consort nor offspring, and described as a virgin. So there you go. Now the next one is Venus de Milo, created by someone who actually had a name, Alexandros of Antioch, 115 BC. So Venus and Aphrodite, just so you know, are the same goddess of love. Venus is the Roman name for the Greek goddess, and let's see, the Romans gave deities names of stars and planets. That's something to remember if you wonder which one was the Roman one and which one was the Greek. Aphrodite represents the feminine archetype of relationship and love. She's adored for the beauty, gentle manner, and numerous and her amorous adventures. Seductress Aphrodite is experienced in the ways with men and was fascinatingly exotic. Natural attraction. Oh, well, I just wanted to say somebody cut off her arms, and we always don't notice that. We just try to not notice that, but I think it was a disempowerment that, well, Alex was saying that the Christians, you know, wanted to revert to the Madonna, and the nakedness was offensive to the Christians. Somehow that became not okay around Roman times.
A sensuous goddess celebrated as you know, as sacred. This didn't conform to the to shamefulness about the body.
That's right.
So
Had to be changed. Now these guys, this was the 1st and 2nd century AD. This is like after Christ, you know, and Christianity was just getting started. This is Diana of Ephesus. Diana was the huntress, and she fed all the animals. So there's just tons of these sculptures with a multi-breasted Diana of Ephesus. This is these are just two of so many. I had to be held back, didn't I, Alex? You had to edit severely. I was just like all these breasted sculptures, various. But Isis and Horus, and Horus is Isis's child, and there is the first Madonna and child. This is, you know, 4,000 to 6,000 years ago.
Yeah, the original Black Madonna.
Yes.
And then here we have the same archetype, and Christ is the new Horus. He's the kind of the king, not a warrior, but a prince of peace. So here we have two manifestations of this famous image of the Madonna and Child, and one of the most famous icons of Holy Russian Empire, and then the Raphael version, the beautiful Tondo.
Well, Theotokos of Vladimir is a very well-loved Russian icon of the Madonna and Child, which you said there was something very, very special about this one.
Well, I believe that Stalin took it on his, to the front line, basically, in World War II, that it was believed to have magical powers, and they did prevail.
Baba Yaga is a feminine archetype. This particular image is an early popular Russian print from the mid 18th century. Baba Yaga dancing with old bald man playing bagpipes. That's what it's called. I thought this was spectacular. It's Eastern European meets Central European. So here you've got the Central European, like the German. Baba Yaga is a supernatural being who appears as a deformed or ferocious-looking old woman who flies around in a mortar, wields a pestle, and dwells deep in the forest in a hut standing on chicken legs. That is, the hut is standing on chicken legs. Baba Yaga may help or hinder those who encounter her or seek her out. So you can go to her and ask for help. She might help you or she might hurt you. You just don't know. She may play a maternal role or be a child-eating monster in various stories. And Baba Yaga has an association with forest and wildlife. It seems like there was a tendency to want to fear nature, or put the fear of nature into children by saying that, if you go into the woods, you might meet up with Baba Yaga and she might eat you. But then there was the Baba Yaga who mixed up the medicine. She was a mortar and pestle witch, and she mixed up the medicine. She could heal you. She knew how to heal you.
She knew the
She had
herbs of the
spells.
forest.
Yeah. She was powerful. A powerful woman with herbs. Scary to some people. Kali, mother of time, Hindu goddess of death, time, doomsday, associated with sexuality and violence, yet also considered a strong symbolic figure of motherly love, like the strong mother. I'll kill you if you don't. Watch
The
out.
Unstoppable force
That's right,
of
of
protection and motherhood and
That's right.
everything. And so she gives birth to time. And so there's this terrifying quality, but it's also a beautiful emanation. And she's also regarded, like, if you're contemplating your own kind of ego death, that she is you surrender, because all surrenders to time.
And this is her very traditional way of being portrayed, holding a skull, necklace of skulls, tongue sticking out bright red, standing on something, extremely powerful. Whereas this is extremely vulnerable. The Birth of Venus by Botticelli, Venus, otherwise known as Venus on the half shell. There she is, extremely vulnerable, just coming out. It's like the newest new, just doesn't know anything. And they're all there protecting her. Lady Liberty has been very, very associated with the sacred feminine.
Yeah, Delacroix there, quite an amazing painting at the Louvre, and Liberty leading the people. The French kind of personified liberty in this way.
And what does it mean, really, that her dress is falling off like that? I mean, there's no getting around that her dress is falling off, and that man is holding a gun on her. But I think it's, what is it, empowering? What is it?
Well, if she is liberty, then she, in some ways, is Venus reborn right here. That demonized figure, that Madonna, it has to be Madonna or else the body is shameful. Here, liberty is the strong force of beauty, right, that says freedom is worth it. And so with that dream, And
free of
this,
constraints, I think.
and liberty, and also promises creative growth. Nudity as is promising of creative growth, you know, basically.
Yeah.
And so in that way, I will follow beauty. You know, no, they're not looking at a dead corpse carrying a flag. They're looking at a beautiful vision of some possibility. This is a vision of higher possibility.
Well, here's another vision of higher possibility. When people come in and they see the Statue of Liberty and they're coming into, Ellis Island, and maybe they're immigrating like my grandfather did right there, right through Ellis Island, saw Statue of Liberty, came to Canal Street to get a job. People do that by the gazillions.
What an inspiring image of welcoming
That's right.
to those people all around the world who sought to come to America to become part of the dream.
That's right. Now, this is also another female archetype of justice. Very similarly, this is a monumental sculpture of Justitia in Germany. You know, just holding the balancing scales. Why are women so associated with justice and liberty? Because women, I think know what's right. You know what I mean? Like, people look back at women to know what's right. They well, grandma would tell you what's right. There are tribes, and I don't necessarily like this tradition at all, but there are tribes in which the women are not allowed to rule, but they're the only ones that are allowed to vote. So it's like, at least they get the choice, you know. I don't like that. I think women should rule too, but I think that's the way they've handled it. The women know best, and there's a certain archetype about that. Here's Edvard Munch, the Madonna, his Madonna.
Looks a little ill there, and with the red halo. I think that Munch was starting to point to the the iconography that was becoming poisonous in some ways, and he was reinterpreting these the symbolism of the Madonna, and she's becoming a little bit more like associated with the Venus archetype.
It's a little opiated, it looks like to me, and there's this gray smoke kind of all around her. It's kind of dingy and
quite an amazing piece.
Beautiful, amazing, gorgeous. Ethylie Rossignol was a clairvoyant, and she heard voices, and the voices very directly told her what to paint. She never believed that she was the artist of these pieces, and that she only took direction
from the spirits. They advised her that she should make these paintings, and that it would become proof of the afterlife, because these spirits said, we know that humanity is frightened of death. We want to tell you that it's awesome in the afterlife, and that so we're going to show you a number of images that we'd love you to share with people.
Yeah, and she has this incredible book called The Goodly Company, which is a gigantic book, really, for its time. It's very advanced because it's so large, and it's just got these gorgeous plates, gilded.
I believe that many of her works are on display in London at the British Society for Psychical Research.
There you go. Okay. Well, we're going to go over Mother of the World by Nicholas Roerich. This is the Nicholas Roerich, by the way, for you people in New York or coming through New York one day, has the only museum dedicated to an individual artist, and he's this very spiritual artist, and this is his Madonna. Georgia O'Keeffe, we all know her, we love her. Very, very feminine watercolor. I love her layering and femininity. This is an amazing artist, Nikki de Saint-Phal. She raised a lot of money. She was married to a famous artist, Jean Tanguy, and she raised a lot of money by selling a famous perfume bottle. It was an incredible perfume bottle, and she had people trailing into one of her buildings. This is just one of the buildings in the Tarot Garden. Yeah.
That was actually
That was at, oh, I know,
an
yes, that's an
installation,
installation,
at
right.
an early in 1966 in a museum
Right,
in
but
Stockholm, and but she did make gigantic, huge
walk-in
yeah.
building type sculptures, and this ended up there, yes. And this is more outdoor sculpture of Nikki Saw. This is what she looked like, and she's doing face painting, Caren. I wanted you to see this. And she made sculpture, and she made this perfume and created her own tarot garden that you can go visit outside of Paris. Louise Bourgeois, great artist. You can see her work at the Dia. You can see an entire, some of these pieces are there.
And all over the world.
All over the world. Really a feminist artist. Into the spiders, though. Huge spiders, gigantic spiders. A lot about pain, a lot about, vulnerability and pain, suffering. Anna Mendieta, another feminist artist, sculptor, painter, video artist, best known for earth body artworks, born in Havana.
She went back to Cuba and she actually made this cave art because she was studying the goddess artwork that people were discovering that were beautiful archetypes. And so she was getting back into the primal goddess archetypes.
Well, these, yes, this is a very raw piece addressing, oh God, everything brutal, everything, like frightening and scary. Her life was scary.
She was also into Santeria, and so there is an element of blood and also the blood sisterhood and things like this, but it's undeniable a scene of frightening violence.
Some people don't know, Alex, that we met in the performance installation tradition genre dinner party. It is long-term installed, if not permanently installed, in the Brooklyn Museum, Judy Chicago. Go and see it. It is amazing to see. It's a gigantic room that they have devoted to the dinner party where all 39 elaborate place settings are arranged in a triangular table, each setting for a mythical or historic woman. And this is Margaret Sanger, who is one of the founders of Planned Parenthood and a child planning advocate way early on. Faith Ringgold lives in the Bronx, makes art about women and femininity and the life of a woman, but also about the life of her community, and the horrors of violence in the city.
Recently acquired at the Museum of Modern Art and on display there.
Amazing piece, large piece. Piece by Amanda Sage. I'm going to read what Amanda Sage wrote about. Anna Suryamide is derived from the Greek word meaning to lift the skirt, is known to be one of the most powerful gestures to scare away the devil or stop an army in its tracks. This painting is an outcry, a visual denouncement of the corrupt system that has brought our world to a state of chaos based on greed, war, profiteering, and the mindless consumption by the masses. It symbolizes the awakening of our personal power, shocking one into introspection as this system is in the process of crumbling. This piece is promised to the first show of Entheon, and I think it's a very powerful piece for right now. And thank you. Martina Hoffman is a great divine feminine artist.
I was going to say that one shows in a ayahuasca ceremony kind of the connection with the all the life web. So this connection like Diana has in the ancient Greek sculptures with all the animals here reemerges as a sacred archetype of visionary art.
This so I think beautifully illustrates the experience of ayahuasca. It's amazing. And there she is. Creative liberty by us. That's the divine feminine.
Yep. Kind of trying to imagine a new America.
We haven't gotten to the sacred masculine yet, but here we are in the goddess performance with 5,500 apples. There we are. Alex is doing 100 prostrations to the goddess while Zena and I are nursing. in the
Beautiful.
center. And this is a piece that you made when Xena was born.
Mm-hmm.
Sophia.
Yep. And you made a guest appearance on the halo there with your sacred secret language. And the face is modeled after you as well, because you're my goddess. And Xena, as Xena is, and she's portrayed there as one of the little Madonna and child in the corners.
There's
And this is
Namaste.
a painting called Namaste that's our friend Bex. And so trying to show the light body and the sacredness of each individual. You know, we like to imagine the sacred mirror. What would you see in that sacred mirror?
Person Planet, another collaboration. Yeah. And Gaia, I couldn't forget to put in Gaia, all the breasted, the multi-breasted.
Yeah, kind of the divine feminine as the Earth Mother, and going through the stressful point right now. And so maybe we should
go through the sacred masculine.
Yeah, let's buzz through here. I
All
just
right.
wanted to say that this is like the Hindu symbol of Krishna displaying his divine form, his cosmic form, where he reveals to Arjuna that he is indeed all things, and that the universe goes on inside of the God. And so this is the kind of the mind-blowing Vishva Vairupa, a multi-headed God vision. So very cool. And then the Daibutsu is the great Japanese outdoor Buddha. And here the contemplative enlightened one shows up in this massive archetype of peace.
It's gigantic, and it's such a great picture. This is the doorway into Chartres Cathedral near Paris, where Jesus Christ is within the sacred almond, they call it. But it is the Vesica Pisces. It is the shape of the two-sided figure, the feminine figure, the figure of the vagina.
It's the two overlapping circles create
right.
that form.
Moses in the Burning Bush by Ernst Fuchs. That is Ernst Fuchs right there in the red beard. It's like a self-portrait in a sense.
Well, he had to lead the visionary artists, you know. He wanted to lead a great people there.
He did. Muhammad's ascent into the heavens, a journey known as the Mirage, as depicted in a copy of this book. So it's an illustration of Muhammad riding the mule Barak across the seventh heaven.
It's another visionary journey, and these are all sacred archetypes of
the sacred masculine.
wise men.
Like the Dalai Lama, which Alex
Exactly.
painted in 1995 to honor the Dalai Lama. Isn't that amazing?
Well, here the archetype of Avalokitesvara, or Chenrezig, is the 1,000-armed bodhisattva that the Dalai Lama is thought to be an emanation of, and that is why he's behind the Dalai Lama in that halo. And of course, behind him is his old home, the Potala, which now Tibet has been occupied by China. And we have the unfortunate situation of the Tibetans still in an oppressive situation.
Yeah, they had to all leave.
But His Holiness the Dalai Lama is an advocate of peace, and stands as the symbol and the greatest kind of exemplar of spirituality on earth, alive
so
today,
too.
I believe.
Exemplary human. Ram Dass recently passed, our wonderful Ram Dass that we love. Loving awareness.
He probably inspired both of our spiritual paths so deeply, and it was a great honor to get to meet him. He's one of the great sacred male archetypes, and one who went through the self-analysis and psychoanalysis and psychedelic analysis and became a sage.
And blessed our only child. Well, these are some of the archetypes that Jung came up with: the king, the warrior, the magician, the lover, and their sort of alternate negative sides, you know, their baby sides or their immature sides, but the fully conscious male commanding leadership with respect, that's the king. And you know, if the shadow is the tyrant or weakling. The warrior archetype, shadow is the sadist, masochist, bully, or coward. These are the good side, the bad side. These are the whistleblowers that and the heroes, really, the king of justice, the kings of justice, the sea shepherd who attempts to end the destruction of the habitat and slaughter of wildlife on the high seas, and you know, people who are willing to change their, you know, change and maybe, you know, affect their whole life by just revealing what it needs to be known by the public. The magician is third eye insight and intuition, fully conscious and transformative. The negative, the shadow side, is the manipulator, the imposter, the renard, the fox, who always is a trickster. The tarot, let's keep going. The fool tarot.
Well, this is like the creative archetype too,
Right.
just coming into the and kind of all of us, you know, one world ends, you know, and we have to basically step into a new world.
Well, the fool in this case is also clever and wise, speaks the truth and challenges authority, but softens the blow with humor. It's like the jester at court, you know, can make fun of everything. And then there's the lover archetype, sensual, appreciating goodness, truth, and beauty. But then there's the addicted lover or the impotent lover. So it could be the Oedipal child and the mama's boy, the dreamer. Those are all archetypes of the sacred. So we get the green man on churches and on trees.
Or other kinds of green things that we
Green
love
things
so
that we love
much.
so much.
The light worker here, it's like putting your heart and soul into bringing the light into the world, the light of intelligence, the light of wisdom. And so, yeah, a lot of people balance that. And then this archetype of the Eco Atlas shows people feeling the gravity of their relationship with the earth and trying to act out of kind of sense of sustainability and wanting to help heal our relationship with the earth.
Well, I had to put these guys in. They are, you know, I want to talk about heroes. Heroes are people who have power and they use it for the good. And these are two men who are divine masculine, sacred masculine, I mean, and they took their power and they used it for the good, I think, creatively and charitably. These are some beautiful dads. Dads are so important, and there's all kinds of dads and babies that know how to say namaste. I couldn't help it. You know, like, look at them. They're Tibetan monks at that age. Alex's kissing painting, maybe 1982.
Yeah. It was really early on, and it shows the kind of the gold light holding us together, and in the infinite going through the minds and hearts of the lovers. And this shows the love circuit extended to a third member there.
This shows how you can describe the sacred masculine and the divine feminine in all kinds of ways. Look it, there it is again on the mantle. This is us. This is CoSM pre-COVID. All 28 of us. Okay. Now we're half of that many. But it was a wonderful, wonderful time. And there we all are when we could all be together back in the day. When we could all be together in the full moon ceremony. When we could all be together holding hands around the Altered State sculpture by Kate Ronbush. And play together close without social distancing. Weddings. More weddings. Delvin, permaculture at CoSM, the designing of all things in life, the beautiful design based on the designs of nature that Delvin teaches here at CoSM.
With grace.
With grace. Yeah. Delvin and Grace. Well, many for 10 years or more, we traveled around talking to people about building a temple, and that was our vision, was to build a temple. So this is us, telling people all over the world about it. And now we've been building Entheon, place to discover God within, sanctuary visionary art at CoSM. And this is the vision of the temple, complete, which it isn't yet. It has the steeple head. The doors are coming. There's some more doors. There's the doors, creating a better world.
Adam and Eve are artists there, and they've returned to the garden, and they're harvesting the tree of wisdom.
That is in its progress. We have them in America. We are having them fixed to that door. It's gonna be happening before we open. We have the door. There's the All One Gallery, where we're going to show the visionary art movement, the great art of the visionary artists.
Yeah, no, we thanks to David Bronner and a grant from him, we've named it the All One Gallery, and his help is helping us to bring the world of visionary artists together and exhibit them there in this beautiful new gallery space.
Which is a transformation from an 1882 brick carriage house into this. This is a completely, and these are some of the pieces that we expect to have, or by some of the artists that we expect to have pieces in the first show, which will be an annual exhibition in the All One Gallery. Mark Henson's New Pioneers, Android Jones will be having lots of projections in the room. We talked about Amanda Sage, Robert Venosa, Luke Brown, Jen Stark, and we're going to have the Psychedelic Reliquary,
where we will exhibit the glasses of Dr. Hoffman, and as well as the paintings by the psychedelic heroes who have signed the back of their paintings.
Yeah, one of the relics is the Dr. Hoffman's glasses there, and the Shulgins. Some of my work will be there: Chaos, Order, Secret Writing, Jewel Net of Indra, more secret writing. If you want to know more about my work, go to AllisonGray.com, and you'll see more of it in the show. Realms of the Unpronounceable. There it is, pretending that it's on the wall there in my room. This is going to be the secret writing Chaos and Order zone.
Right, and you're going to have writing on the floor,
Yeah,
aren't you?
we're getting a floor. I forgot to put the floor in, but this is Progress of the Soul room.
Yep, empty gallery now, but
Empty
soon
gallery.
to be hung.
These are the galleries the way they look now, except this one has a stage. This is the Great Hall, where we're gonna be able to be in the room together. We will be able to all be back together again. I do believe that, and hundreds of people will be able to be in this room. I believe that. This is the Sacred Mirrors room in progress. This is what it looks like now, without the sacred mirrors in the room. The exterior, the faces. We're going to start to talk about finishing the exterior when we are having full moon ceremonies and new moon ceremonies inside. Corner angels are still a way you could support CoSM. You could have a corner angel of your very own. Just fund it. There's 4 of them. The steeplehead was funded by 3 people, and the doors by 2 people. This is when the steeplehead went to Burning Man.
We had Entheon Village there with maps and with a number of artists early on in 2006, and so now we have Entheon at CoSM.
There we go, and there it arrived, and then it arrived, and then it got put on top of the building. So now we have the steeple, thank God. And this is the back patio. You can pave the back patio with your brick, with your words on it, with your name on it, with your family's name, with your relative memorial, whatever you want to say. Surrender to love. You can you can buy a brick. It helps us to pave the way to Entheon. That's going to be the back, where the patio is where we're going to have the soul birds. And there they are. The soul birds are ready to be installed, along with the sculpture of us kissing. And Theron, for your ashes or your stashes, we are a church, an interfaith church, CoSM, and we provide an urn if you need one. CoSM Grail for your elixirs or your holy water or your ceremonies of any kind. We use them for our weddings. You can help CoSM by planting a legacy tree at CoSM in your name with a plaque. One day in the future, the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors in the meadow. So come build with us.
That's our whole inspired journey there, Allison. Thank you so much. You know, this vision of this temple, if we're and when we're able to build this temple in the meadow, we will move our work out of Entheon and move it into this temple.
This will be the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors with the sacred mirrors in it.
Exactly.
But in the meantime,
and then Entheon
we'll
will be a museum of visionary
That's
art.
right, for one and all.
Well,
we thank you very much. Yes. Are we still here? Oh, well, we're come to the end of our church. And this is the time when we read a favorite poem to close the ceremony. Do we not?
Well, we could.
You want to?
I didn't know whether we were. It's kind of late.
Are we going to do questions?
Yeah,
No questions. We got to talk to everybody already. I'm so delighted we did. We're so glad that you're here. Alex is gonna. You want to end it off with a
sure
final poem?
Yeah. How about something? Well, we did that, but I kind of wanted to give. Yeah. I'm sorry, I just was asked. So great. All right. Well, here's something. The nature of an artist's soul. Here's something to unite with our sense of the springtime's arrival. The artist's soul is like wildflowers growing in a ditch. The artist's soul is like the bee, busily gathering sustenance from God's beauty, returning to the nest of the studio and transforming the pollen of inspiration into the honey of art, a sweetness for all. The artist's soul is like a mountain, indistinct and mist-covered. It sometimes fades from view, as if not there at all. The artist's soul is like a tree, with roots in the heavens and limbs branching to earth, explosively blooming creation. The artist's soul is like a toxic waste dump, feeding the culture back its own carelessly cast-off poisons. The artist's soul is like the outrageous colors of fall, the dying plunge of beauty, bleeding over everything. The artist's soul is like a deer, darting out in front of our philosophical car. In a moment of shock, we swerve, wreck our car, the deer escapes unharmed, and we need a new philosophy. The artist's soul is like a hidden spring leaking up through the ground, making pools in the forest. Both mosquitoes and tadpoles thrive in it. The artist's soul is like a rocky field. Plow it, and you'll bust your plow. The artist's soul is like a wasp which builds its nest on your house. It's beautiful, but scary. The artist's soul is like a bear, big and dumb. Get out of its way. It does what it pleases. The artist's soul is like the birds which herald a new dawn, up before everyone. Their song is rarely heard, breaking the still silence of night. As the sun emerges from the horizon, inflaming the world with living color, sharp orange and pink on the cloud, the artist's soul is like that. The artist's soul is like the sky and clouds, constantly building amazing shapes, now wispy, now tempestuous, completely blocking the source of light, then dissolving into brilliant clarity. And may any merit generated by our gathering here tonight be offered to the benefit and liberation of all beings. Happy Art Church.